We recognize the child already perfect. Why you have to try and impose anything on the kid? Just let the kid grow. That's exactly the philosophy that we're looking at in the farm today. We're seeing that nature's already perfect. That's what my guru Fukuoka he told. He said nature's already perfect. You can't improve upon nature. You take someone like Elon Musk. He put a car on a rocket ship. He sent it to outer space. So very, very proud of our learning. He put a microchip in someone's brain and AI technology, but in Chennai there's no water left. In Bangalore there's no water. We're very, very clever, but we're very arrogant because we've destroyed the planet and still we're trying to go out. So my teacher is a guy called Masanobu Fukuoka. So he coined this idea of natural farming, which is very much like, no education, because, kid will find the thing that they want to, where they will grow. And in natural farming, you could consider it a non-interventional farming, a farming where we recognize that, as I say, nature's already perfect and it will find its own way. So the expression of the natural farming here in this particular topography, in this particular bioregion, with this climate and geography, and even geology and demographics, is a community of plants that grow easily without effort. And because they grow without effort, they're in abundance. And because they're in abundance, they're non-exclusive. If you're rich, you have pizza. If you're poor, you want to have pizza, but you can't have pizza. But local foods like the moringa, or the moringa kale, beggar and king can equally have drumstick spinach soup, And those foods are often the most healthy foods. They're really the fabric of Ayurveda, and they use less water to grow. They're obviously, that's culturally, medicinally, economically relevant, socially relevant. And the knowledge how to use those plants, how to cook with them, how to be well, that is the foundation of any civilization. If we were in Peru, we will talk the same thing. If we were in Russia, we would be exploring the foods that grow around us. If we were in Japan, same. And because the people who lived in those bioregions, they had access to those foods that grew easily, therefore a civilization emerged. This is not nuclear physics, it's very, very simple matter. If people had food, then the society would grow, the people would grow, language would develop. We look in Tamil Nadu, we have a Bharatanatyam, amazing dance form. We have the Carnatic music, it's one of the most complex music forms in the world. We have the temples that the architects don't know how to build anymore. The Tamil language itself, I don't know if you know, it's 40,000 years old. It's considered the oldest language in the world. We have the esoteric texts, the spirituality, the Nadi Jadigam. You have things like the Kavadai from the Sangam period of poetry. We have this culture in Tamil Nadu. It's like a banyan tree, ancient culture, amazing culture. And again, how did it emerge? Well, people knew where their food came from. People had a relationship with where their food comes from. If we look today and you look at any one of us, or anyone out there, take 100 people and ask them, what did you have for breakfast? They say rice, wheat, whatever, Well, where did it grow? No idea. How did it grow? No idea. Who grew it? No idea. Were chemicals used to grow it? No idea. Which chemicals? No idea. How was it packed, stored, processed, transported? We are completely divorced from the most basic thing that we need. When we get put on desert island together and we say, oh, what's our most common need? Was obviously food and water. And yet that most collective basic need, we don't have a relationship with it. And therefore we are in a crisis on the planet. The crisis is on every level. It's ecological, it's medicinal, nutritional, it's social, it's cultural, it's economic. It's because it touches everything, because it's a foundation. You pull out the foundation, all the aspects of the house are going to crumble. And that's what's happening today. So the antithesis of this, the solution of this, is to look into our cultures that are already existing. It's not to look into more and more technology. It's not to send more rocket ships to space. It's to look and try and grow carrots on the moon, which is definitely what they're trying to do. They think that's the solution. You meet architects and they're like vertical gardening, rooftop gardening and all that. Wow, it's amazing. But you go to those architects' house, they'll have garden outside their house, nothing growing. But what about the earth, What about the soil? This is where food grows, in the soil. you know, if you actually look at this soil here, you know, it's a bit muddy right now, but if you look at this soil, there are millions of microorganisms and molds, bacteria, insects, earthworms, fungi, small animals, and the mycelium. And you start to understand that it's the life that's in the soil that is the fertility of the soil. Life equals fertility. This is like the equation of the natural farmer, if you like. And you ask, well, how did that life come there? Well, just simply by decomposition, you know, leaves and sticks and branches and, you know, bananas and papayas and all sorts of plant matter has fallen back to the earth and decomposed and is making a healthy soil. So this soil is the precursor to the whole Tamil civilization, if you like, you know. So when we stop to, you know, love this soil and recognize, well, this is Bhumidev. In India they call her Bhumidev, in Europe they call her Gaia, in South America they call her Pachimama. Every culture on this planet has a name for this soil. This soil is a divinity, actually. You know, this is the Shakti of this planet. And yet what do? We plow it, and we put chemicals on it, and we destroy it, and we put car parking lots and you know, now of course building plots, and we lost the most basic fundamental relationship that we have with this planet, you know, with ourselves, is through the soil. So I would say the first step on a road back to nature, a reclamation of a cultural nutritional identity, is through taking care of the soil. And that means valuing every leaf, every branch, every stick, every weed, every blade of grass, put it back to the soil. That one technique we have practiced here consistently over many years, returning organic matter. And therefore the soil starts to take on a certain health. Now, when the soil starts to take on a certain health, the types of weeds that emerge are different. When you plow the land and it becomes compressed, and it becomes, you know, very devoid of certain organic matter and nutrients, certain weeds will dominate, and those weeds are always the ones that are very aggressive, and you see how people are weeding. So when you start to practice natural farming, that goes, because those weeds are important. They're pioneer weeds. They're weeds that are reclaiming the land, you know. But once the land becomes healthy, those weeds will no longer have a purpose there, and other weeds will start to take place. And what you start to see, a lot of the weeds that grow are edible weeds. So you have things like the mushroom spinach. This is a type of a beautiful edible weed that it tastes a little bit like mushroom. It's really yummy, and what's nice, it has a nice texture. It's like lettuce, you know. It's like crunchy and soft texture. You're welcome to try it if you like. It's here. Let me pass you a little bit around. I won't give you things that aren't good to eat, that I can tell you.
If it tastes like mushrooms, how could it be bad?
How do I add it? Hey, you can pass a little bit of that around. Okay. You want to try a few leaves? Yeah. But there are many other weeds like that. There's chicken spinach, the korikere. And there are things like the turkey berry. So the turkey berry in Tamil we call sundakai. So everyone will know sundakai theriyumla. Veetla saapringa. Eppadi saapringa? Kaalkom vattal kodumudalla. Ama. You make poril with it as well? No. So you don't make poril. So this is an interesting thing. You see, traditionally, imagine like we go back 1,000 years now, in this people, how they're going to get food. There's no, even you go back 50 years, you ask the older people, you say, when you were a kid, you know, how did you eat? They said, yeah, we ate what's produced. There wasn't really shop so much, you know. They'd go to market, they'd sell some firewood and come back with 1 or 2 anna and get some sugar and salt, you know, and tea powder or something. But food was found from what grows around them. So obviously the things that could grow without any effort, those are foods that are the foundation of a culture. Now you show most Tamilians and they'll go, hey, this little smile will come, Mama, Sundakai, it's a number Kalacharanda, it's our culture, you know, there's a certain little bit pride, there's an ownership of that. This plant is very yummy and it's very good for reverse diabetes. It's good for lots of other, you know, parasite cleaning, all sorts of things. If you go on internet, better read it yourself than hear it from someone. sundakai, turkey berry in English. And you just go on Google. Google's amazing for this. And you read turkey berry medicinal values, and you're like, wow, really? Wow, that's what my mom needs. Oh, that's what my brother needs. Oh, that's what I need, you know? And then you start to imagine, well, hang on, if it grows easily, without any effort, with no machinery, with no petrol, with no chemicals, you know, and no plowing, and it just grows without effort, why isn't that food on a lunch scheme, a midday meal scheme? You know, government has that beautiful midday meal scheme. It's actually a pretty good program, actually. But why isn't that on a program like that? Or why isn't it served in hospitals? Or why isn't in college campuses like this Pondi University, 10,000 people in the campus, or SRM College? They came here, I do talks with them and workshops, and I say to them, like, Muringaki, the drumstick, you know, you break off the stick, you plug in the germinate. You're like, really? But they're selling it for, like, you know, 500 rupees, something, a little bottle of it with some capsules, and you're like, really? That's crazy. You see, it grows out in everybody's house. You know, you will laugh if you bought a capsule. You know, why you have to buy a capsule? Anyway, that's not how you eat it. You make a sambar and you eat it with rice and you enjoy it. You know, it's not like you pop a pill. And I said to these people, I said, you know, do you eat the muringakere? And again, the little smile was there, old Tamilians. You're like, yeah, we eat muringakere, it's our culture. And I said, does it grow on your campus? And they say, yeah, we have 10,000 people on the campus. Campus is huge. It's growing everywhere. I said, do you serve it in the canteen? No, we don't serve it. Well, obviously, that's the step that's missing, is the consuming of these plants. Medium duration crops like banana, papaya, drumstick, yams, pineapples, all these things, and they last like a 10 months, a year, like that. And then you have the shorter duration crops. Things like the, you know, turkey berry or turmeric, you know, things that last about 7 months. The arbi, the yams, some of the other yams, and the taro, sepengenge, rosella. And then you have the shorter things, pumpkins, and then tomatoes and cucumbers. Then you have spinaches. So you have a diversity of crops that grow together according to their time duration, and a diversity of crops that grow together according to their physiological difference. So that's what you have here. Now, the more you go into that subject and you really embrace the community that can emerge here spontaneously, you start to see that you lose light. You know, because we have guavas, custard apple, mango, ilipaikote, the mohua tree, bale fruit, chikus, breadfruit, lots of citrus, and then of course bananas, papaya, drumstick, agatikere, you know, so you lose the light. So then you have to start exploring the plants that will be shade tolerant. So turmeric is one of them. So if you see, the whole farm is plastered with turmeric, and it's also plastered with pineapples, because they can both manage. But we also have the air potato. If you see that bunch of bananas, just on that banana and behind it there is a beautiful shaped leaf. Yes. That's a concave leaf. That's called air potato. In Tamil we call it vettali velikaranga. It's actually growing here as well on this tree. It's growing on this guava here as well. Vettali velikaranga. Diascora in Latin. So it's if you leave it after a year, you'll get 60 kilo yam, and it's very tasty. Like you can store it for a long time as well. You start to see each plant is not only their taste, it's their little quality. Oh, this one stores a long time. This can be used like this. This can be used like that. So all of those plants, and also type of lady's finger. We have Assamese giant lady's finger that grows 3 meters high, and then it's very relevant to this because it will find the light. You know, the papaya also will find the light, banana will find the light. So that's what's happening in this farm. And all those weeds, you know, the chicken spinach and the moratakan, the tudavale, the ponangani, all of those are kind of sort of shade tolerant as well. They'll adapt to that particular scenario. Then you have plants like the tipoli. The tipoli in Latin is called pippalongum, and it's a long black pepper, as you can see here. These little guys here. They're kind of, I wouldn't say it's spicy. I would say they're hot. You know, they're not spicy. They're hot. If you want to try one, but they're
These ones?
yes, yeah, you can try it. You have a little bite if you want. And look where it's growing. Look where it's growing here. It's growing in the full shade. Rasam super ka sema. It's very, very tasty, the rasam made with this. And it's a COVID cure. You know, if you read about it, just go on internet again, right? Tipali, you know, medicinal values. You'll be like, really? This is like king of Ayurveda. It's an amazing plant. Yeah. Just have a bite. It's hot. It's a little hot. Yeah.
It's not spicy. It's
Yeah, it's burning. It's hot. It's not like chili. It's like, but this is like just heats the mouth. And what it does actually is, you know the word Agni, no?
Yeah.
So Agni is in Ayurveda. Agni defines the digestive fire. So imagine you have a really good digestive fire, unlike myself. You know, you'll burn up toxins very quickly in the body. So this stimulates the Agni, and it's also a cancer cure. It's well known for lung cancer. The doctors, Ayurvedic doctors, are giving one day, 2 the next day, 3 the next day, up to 14, and then they come back down. So it's like a month treatment, like that. And it's I gave it to my father-in-law who had TB, and it was a huge help for him. We gave it like powder and make honey. And the other thing is, like, if you buy those things, are you okay?
You want some water? Yeah.
Give a little sip of water. Yeah. Actually, you can calm it down with some other plants.
Yeah.
Here, try a bit of this. This will calm it down. Here,
What are these?
bale patta. That's a bale fruit.
Oh, bale fruit.
Yeah, it's a traditional bale, very old variety of bale fruit.
Can you pass me one?
What?
Okay.
Take small one, tender leaf, young leaf best. Yeah, younger leaf. Yeah.
No, not the one. Yeah.
So basically what I'm trying to show you is that in solitude, it doesn't happen overnight. But by returning organic matter constantly, by not using machinery or chemicals, by establishing an infrastructural and a sort of, you know, mid-term, infrastructure like the bananas, papayas, the fruit trees, by sort of creating that and then exploring all the shade-tolerant crops, something starts happening. That's food forest. You know, there's an aspect that we've sort of helped create, and then you start to see, well, that custard apple came on its own, that Vetali Verkanga came on its own, that mango came on its own, the rosella all comes on its own, the ponangani, all the spinaches, morataka and tuduvali, they come on their own. And you start to see, even this lemon came on its own, this lady's finger grow back on its own. You see this ramphal come on its own, you know, and you start to see that actually there's a huge community of plants that we use in our restaurant on a daily basis that have no ecological cost, no carbon footprint. They enhance our cultural understanding of our cultural identity. They medicinally, nutritionally, they're better for us. They're using less water to grow, and they're just there, and anyone could copy this. It's not like this is some secret knowledge, you know, sign on the dotted line and I'll teach you. No, anyone knows this already, just we're not doing it. That's just as simple as that, you know. So, you know, in that way, I find the work at Solitude, which is I'm proud of course, but I don't feel like I did it. It's sort of happening. I'm like witnessing it, you know, but it's very authentic in that way. You know, imagine that you run a university or you have a land or something, and we say, well, okay, let's, you know, put a fence and let's start putting the fruit trees. And then let's start putting bananas, papayas and drumstick, and let's start creating a menu that can, the way we'd use this thing. And you start to have, like, maybe you run emphasis and you say, okay, my campus, now I'm fully gonna make it edible campus. It's not far-fetched. The people running those things, they're coming to me actually and asking me, you know, and then they have a canteen. And they say, okay, at least Muringa Kere drums, we have five working days a week, and one lunch, surely drumsticks is on the lunch. You know, so at least that element of our diet is covered. And then once a week it would be a green papaya, sundakai, dal, you know, that at least elements of that meal are covered. And then you start addressing our diet through exploring menu, and that menu would then thus reflect our culture. Now imagine your kids growing up on a lunch scheme, you know, and you eat those foods all the time, and those foods then, you know, it's not only that we grow up more healthy, it's not only that we grow up without having created climate change, you know, without adding to the climatic problem, but we grow up with a collective value. We grow up with one thing where we say, whatever other things you believe and I believe, this one thing we do agree on, and it's the foundation of our civilization.
With your experience, how do you say, if I'm starting from scratch, how much time will it take to come to a stage
How
where
much
I'm-
time is piece of string? No, I mean it's like how long is piece of string? It's like you can't approach it like that. You have to go home and start, and if you're not doing it, start. If you are doing it, add some more elements. It's a very, there is no goal, there's no end goal to this. There's
Absolutely.
it's a like Deepika and Bernard in Pebble Garden. So they started Pebble Garden about, must be 20 plus years ago. Similar time we started Solitude, and this whole area was populated with forest, before. And on the temple walls you can see it's written there were tigers and elephants. Now imagine you're a tiger or an elephant, what sort of biomass you need to support your body, so it was very dense, jungle here, and it's all cut down for wood, probably by British and all these characters, and then when there was the big war, 40s war, they cut down all the secondary scrub jungle for making peanut oil to support the war effort. And therefore there was huge erosion. So in that land where Pebble Garden is, there were only pebbles. People were coming there and just pebble mining it, filtering the patani jelly, and selling that off. So they got that land, which was Auroville land, and they just started returning organic matter. Constantly return organic matter. Within 5 years they had enough soil to start growing something. Now I think she got an award from President of India for some, one of those special awards for her work. She distributes like lakh seed packets every year to people, all traditional varieties. It's very, very beautiful. So if you look at the time frame of a human life, and it's quite feasible to heal. It's quite feasible, but we have to want that. So when we're rushing to push our kids to become something that is so, arbitrary and ephemeral, and tomorrow when there's COVID, no one can go out the house. What's the use of my Mercedes Benz? What was the use of all that running after money? No use, because anyway we're coming to something far more fundamental when there's climate change. Food, water, it's actually our social bond will be the possibility of our survival will be because of how is our community. So this subject sort of starts touching on that and exploring that. I think really I feel very strongly that it starts in our mouth, so just to start eating those foods, integrate in our diet once a week. Do you lift it up? Lift gently up so people can see. It's very beautiful. It's a very sort of sensual looking flower.
What is this?
That's a honeycomb. Yeah.
Why is it
Regular.
white?
I don't know. It's all dried up. I don't
What's
know
the name
what
of
it is.
that you told like earlier?
This is called, in Tamil, called Ponakali. Black velvet bean.
Okay.
So as you go in this subject more and more and more, and you see, well, I can do this with the green papaya, and I can do this with the papaya seeds, and I can use the papaya leaf as a medicine, and I can use the rosella seed as a coffee substitute, and the rosella fruit as a syrup or a jam, the rosella leaves in a salad or this, and the fruit of this. When the fruit is immature, like a jackfruit as a vegetable, you cook it, it has a texture of fish. It's very, very, very interesting plant, and at times this is the most incredible fruit. It's like a mix of sort of guava and sort of pineapple with a sort of overtone of strawberry, and it's very delicious fruit. But at times the fruit doesn't get mature, so then you cook it, and you're like, oh, you do this and you do that and you use this and use that, and we're constantly having diversity. And it's very inspiring, actually, even for me who lives with that every day. I'm like, wow, amazing. It's still going on, Okay, let's go this way.
What tree is that?
yeah, but it is also good for making juice. I was saying that flower is the appreciation of the beauty of the things in nature. This sense of awe and wonder, I think, is the beginning of that humility, where you know how to receive the gifts. Yeah, very sour. And then the fruit you can make a jam or a syrup, and then the flower you can make a sherbet, and the seed you can make like a Horlicks, like a boost, and the stem is a very strong rope. You beat it and then you can lift granite. It's amazing, you know. Each plant has so many. You have 200 plants that all have different parts that can be used, and each part that can be used in different ways. It's almost non-ending, you know. This mango came from seed. We didn't grow it. Even no one remembers how it grew. But it gives fruit now, and it's a very good fruit. There's some myth that some people say, oh, if you let mango come from seed, it won't be good. I mean, this mango is very good, you know, and we didn't grow it. It just grew. This is the tall Assamese giant lady's finger as well, the 3-meter giant lady's finger. It's like a tree. Yeah. Oh, you're Assamese blood? Born and bred. We have an Assamese lemon as well. It's also amazing. Yeah, my daughter's best friend. How old is your daughter? She's 14. Chandni.
Oh,
You know Chandni.
yeah.
They play football every day.
Ah, yeah. Chandni, my daughter. Chakot, my son. So this is a workshop that we do, and this is called a circle garden. So imagine we're like, okay, Krishna, come, let's do something. We want to learn more. The first thing we could do is a circle garden, because you know you work in Infosys. There's land. The boss says, okay, yeah, you can make something here, and you put a fruit tree in the middle, long duration. Around the side, you can put some banana. I don't know, is there banana in here? I think there is somewhere. Yeah, banana is there. Papaya is there somewhere. That's the sort of medium duration. Drumstick is there, medium duration. And then you have more like long duration sort of perennial things like the turkey berries there, lemongrass, pineapples, turmeric. And then what else we got? Some basil is there, some brinjal is there, some pumpkins, the Aparajita flower, chicken spinach is there, tomatoes are there, some more spinaches. And as you go on, you could, you know, imagine we just meet once a week. You know, we're too busy doing C++. We don't have time for this. But once a week, we're given half an hour. You know, a bunch of us, we come together and we manage this. And imagine the whole campus of Infosys is done like this. Maybe they have a few gardeners to help as well, you know. But once a week, everyone gets 1 hour. And that food is in the canteen. What it means for that staff. Imagine they're still only focused on money. Still, the brand of Infosys will be like through the roof, you know. This Infosys feeds its own staff from food that grows on their campus, and the food is so good for them, and those staff are engaged in growing it. I mean, just be a bit creative in your thinking. You want money, little people will come buy you before they will buy Microsoft, you know, if you want that, you know. Yeah. So this is the Assamese giant lemon. So it's a lemon this big, and what happens, it becomes quite a big bushy tree, and it's so heavy with the fruits that the roots, they fall on the ground, and then they put roots down from the branch. So then we've cut that out and we've replanted it here. So we've replanted this everywhere. Why? Because it grows easily. You know, like the custard apple coming on its own, and the ramphal coming on its own. And there's another garden with soursop. Now normally when we do these gardens, this is something new I've done in this garden, is we'll dig a trench, we'll clean the land. You know, everything has to be done well, and you first clean the land, and second make a trench and put the soil up, and then fill the trench with organic matter. This is like full, there's like at least 100-200 kilos of organic matter in the trench here. And then what we will do is then level it out, put compost and plant. Now here there was already a bed and it was full of organic matter, so we said, we started to do something called hugelkultur. So we started just to put instead of like clearing everything out and making a bed, we just say, forget that. We just put the soil on top of the organic matter. And that's the basic idea of hugelkultur, that you're building a bed up with organic matter inside it. So in the tropics like this, where it's decomposing so fast, this is like amazing. This is gonna like go through the roof very quickly with the organic matter. So this is basically this is a very nice group. I really appreciate your your interest of being here with me today and letting me share this with you. But it's really about valuing organic matter, honoring the soil, and eating the local foods, and then creating community with the local foods. You know, without community we can't make the change.